You'd think that Christians would be recognized for making better movies than God's Not Dead, We the People.
I identify as self-partnered.
There are some good Christian movies, but they aren't as fun to talk about. I mean, I'm Christian, but pretty much missed out on the do what everyone else is doing but sanitized and Jesusified era of Christian entertainment, and instead was introduced to it during its right-wing reactionary phase. Yippee!
Be less white.
Like, what even makes Christian media, well, Christian? To use music as an example, you can listen to an explicitly Christian song that references the Bible or struggles commonly faced by Christians. But if the artist decides he or she isn't a Christian after releasing the song, is that song still Christian? Well, what if a non-Christian wrote a song that references God or a Christian theme? Does that make the music Christian? Or what if a practicing Christian wrote a song that made no reference to anything recognizable as Christian, or had no lyrics at all? Does that make it Christian? Is this still Christian music? Christian, though it's such a nebulous concept when it comes to entertainment and media, I could claim something like King of the Hill is Christian because the main characters are Christian and a lot of the show is set in a very Protestant environment. They're all Methodist. But as far as I can tell, though, the showrunners don't appear to be Christian. And on top of that, it's meant to satirize conservatives in Texas who are Christian.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
You people are all the same.
But enough about that. Let's talk about like proper Christian media. The thing you clicked on this video for. VeggieTales. Everyone knows about VeggieTales.
Weed eater.
Now that's funny.
I mean, this is basically the Christian SpongeBob. Everyone I know watched this as a kid. They remember its wacky humor, and it's probably the only Christian kids show to break out of its ghetto and enter the mainstream. Or what about the controversial Left Behind series of novels and movies, which I can only summarize as the author's crappy Bible fanfic about the end times? But now that I think about it, like, books have always been super huge in Christian circles. Like, I remember a time when it seemed like every sizable town in the Bible Belt had a Lifeway or some other kind of Christian bookstore. Most of the books sold at these stores fell into two categories: Bible study and commentary, or self-help. The self-help portion especially seemed to be a goldmine for any aspiring author to write whatever they think is correct, throw in a few Bible verses, and make your destructive worldview seem justified and morally correct in the eyes of many. Boom! You are sitting on $1 million. And this actually happened several decades ago when Josh Harris released his magnum opus, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, in which he advocated for radical sexual purity and that Christians should eschew dating altogether in favor of parents marrying off their kids to whoever they think is best within their own local church. Now, unless you've taken the incel pill, this must sound like absolute lunacy to you, and you're correct. But most evangelical groups in the USA ate this up, hook, line, and sinker, and pushed it as if it were a new book in the Protestant Bible's 66-book canon. The fallout from all of this was so bad, the author issued public apologies multiple times and in 2019 publicly renounced his Christian faith.
Some people were angry.
A lot of people were angry, understandably.
But with all this in mind, though, like, this is actually a pretty common trend in this space. It's usually dominated by people who are given way more authority than they would usually have by a group of tired moms, all because the people making the media just so happen to publicly identify with these tired moms' religion. Only for this to become a problem later on when the people these tired moms gave authority to begin spouting pure heresy. A prime example of this is the
Trinity Broadcasting Network,
which has been home to so many controversies it's not even funny. Like, aside from hosting shady televangelists like Joel Osteen, or abuse scandals that, honestly, anyone who follows these kinds of family-friendly organizations should expect, the entire organization has a history full of ethical problems, loose teachings, and a lack of accountability that honestly could be a video in and of itself. I know it sounds like I'm being very negative and somewhat apathetic toward Christian media as a whole, but there is a silver lining. I've noticed in recent years there seem to be more producers and artists keen on distancing themselves from current trends in favor of making art that's true to their beliefs and not just reactionary slop. Although that element does still seem to be there, and it will probably always be there,
So what the Sigma is a nonsensical phrase.
Earlier this year, I saw a Christian movie called Between Borders, a historical drama based on real-world events circling an Armenian family seeking freedom and coming to Christ in the process. It wasn't the best movie ever, but it made me feel something. It was well made, even if it felt weak at times. I hope as time goes on we see more contemporary Christian media like this film, with less trend chasing and more authenticity. But I think as long as the world remains imperfect, explicitly Christian entertainment will always live in a shadow of its mainstream counterpart.